Craters of the Moon, Centennial. 1924 to 2024. Nature Journaling on the Moon with Karen Jacobsen and Mary Arnold.
Okay. Hi, I'm Mary Arnold.
Hi, I'm Karen Jacobsen.
And we're the two artists doing the series of nature journaling videos called Karen and Mary, Nature Journaling on the Moon. This is for our Craters of the Moon Centennial Artist Residency.
Yeah. Today we're going to talk about tips and techniques for recording observations and making your pages in your nature journal fun and creative and interesting to look at.
So we mentioned before you're going to have drawings. You're probably going to capture words, and you might actually capture some numbers and data as well. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. So once again, come along with us and bring your curiosity, your wonder, and your attention to detail. And wouldn't you say the nice thing about nature journaling is that you don't have to always be outside when the weather's bad?
You don't always have to be outside when the weather's bad.
Yeah, so we're going to do that today. We're going to show you a few techniques by using past entries in our nature journaling. So we're escaping the rain outside. Okay, we talked about drawings and how you can draw things that are landscapes, but you can also draw things that are in detail. So I'm going to find an example that in my journal.
Yeah, like.
Well, we also talked about measurements. I'm going to start with that. So this was an example of a rock that I drew, but it looks really huge on this page. And on this page, it's probably about 5 or 6 inches. That rock, I put 1x next to it. That means that when I recorded it, that was the actual size of something I saw in nature. So you could put 1x. If it's twice as big as it is normally, you could put 2x. If it's half as big as it is normally, you could put 0.5x. So that's one way you can use data to indicate size of what you're journaling as it relates to reality.
I do have something that's drawn to scale here in my book. So this was a day that I spent out with the sage grouse. This is just a black and white imaging, but I measured the tracks and I made those tracks the same size on my sketchbook. Now the space between the feet is not accurate. They had a much wider stance. And then here in this part, I traced around the little pattern of his dancing footprints that they left in the road. It was super clear that the bird was working in a circular motion, kind of in a diagonal direction. There was probably another bird next to it.
I like what she did with her patterned drawing and showed the path. Another way that you can do really cool drawings is to do something that has a little bit of a comic book effect where you can see that there's a story.
Yeah, one of the ways that I've done it here is this is more of an environment. I was out at a pond and was recording some of the things going on there. So I have some Canada geese that were out here nesting, or maybe they were just resting because pretty soon they got off and they swam away. I kind of showed that there was a bunch of trees growing right down to the water, the lodgepole pines. And then we had the willows were just starting to come in with these really pretty golden colors. In the pond, there was, in the willows where it was more closer to me, I could see that the buds of the willows, the pussy willows, were just starting to come out, and they had this beautiful bluish hue to them. And there was a muskrat in the pond, and probably some other birds that had came in and out, but I didn't have room for them.
So I actually did a lot of journaling on sunflowers. So I will show that. So I started by showing what the stems look like, what they look like lengthwise.
Let me turn the page for you.
And then also like what the cut point, what they look like if you were to cut through one, that they looked hollow. And then I actually drew a picture of a sunflower. I included some verbiage and information. Then I started capturing sunflowers anywhere from a bud stage, and then as they started to leaf out, to bloom, and they got bigger and bigger, which continued to the next page, and then it continued where you have the blooms getting bigger. Then they start to die. So they start to senesce, they start to wrinkle up, the leaves start to wrinkle, they start curling in. And then I also did, this is kind of it's a zoom in, where I zoomed in so you could see the seeds in the middle of the sunflower.
How many days did you go out?
Oh, all year long, anywhere from April till like October.
Yeah, so she continued that observation all summer.
Yeah. I went to the same place.
She went to the same place and she counted and she mapped and she recorded the sunflowers and she drew them from the start to finish, which is kind of and she probably learned more about sunflowers than she ever thought she needed to know.
And I never knew that bees slept in the middle of sunflowers. I'd get there early in the morning and there would be bees just sound asleep in all of the sunflowers. Like, it was really cool. So different times a day, but every day almost for about 3 or 4 months. So I wanted to talk about a way to capture some data when you're trying to get a bunch of information. So when I was counting the petals, I did this little chart. So this is a great way to capture data that doesn't take too much room. So there were some petals that had less than 10. There were some that had between 10 and 20, some between 20 and 30, some between 30 and 40, and then I had a 4 for if there was any on 40. So I'm going to hold this up, and if you look, you can see, it might be a little bit reversed, but we'll see. So every time I saw one that had 7, I put it on the row that had no 10 counter. And then I'd put 7, and then I saw another one that had 7, and then I saw another one that had 7, and then one that had 5, and then one had 9. When it had more than 10, I put it in the one row where it's right here, and so I saw there's a 1, a 1, a 1, so that means I saw 3 flowers that had 11 petals. So this is a way to capture all of this data in a little tiny chart.
That covers a lot of what we were originally have been talking about throughout all the videos, that the types of drawings that you can do, they don't have to be exacting, they don't have to have color to have meaning, and that you can write your observations as well, and that you can include numbers and different kinds of charts and organization of that data to get your information down.
So I know it's a short video today, but it was rainy outside, and so thank you for joining us. In our next one, we're gonna talk more about some good drawing techniques.
And show you actually on paper when we have all the appropriate stuff.
Yeah, all right. So thank you for
and
joining.
I can be outside.
Yeah, thank you for joining Karen and I for Nature Journaling on the Moon.